Hold on one moment. Representatives from the Council on American-Islamic Relations, CAIR, a Muslim advocacy group, is speaking out right now. I want to listen in.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of God, the Compassionate, the Merciful. My name is Ibrahim Hooper. I'm National Communications for the Council on American-Islamic Relations, the nation's largest Muslim civil rights and advocacy organization. Obviously, we're here on a very sad day to offer the Muslim communities heartfelt condolences and condemnation of this horrific crime in Orlando. And we'll hear from a number of national and local Muslim leaders, beginning with CAIR National Executive Director Nihad Awad. That's N-I-H-A-D A-W-A-D, National Executive Director of the Council on American-Islamic Relations.
Thank you, Ibrahim. Good afternoon. I woke up this morning to the shocking news. I could not believe what I saw on the screen, a mass shooting in a nightclub in Orlando. And I started, of course, to worry about, what kind of crime. And as we went through the day, the number of the victims has increased. And unfortunately, as you all know, more than 50 people have been murdered in cold blood. So, as a Muslim, as American, I would like to make this statement. Our hearts, thoughts, and prayers are with the victims of their and with the victims and their families. We offer condolences to the families, and we pray for the recovery of the survivors. This is a hate crime, plain and simple. We condemn it in the strongest possible terms. It violates our principles as Americans and as Muslims. Let me be clear. We have no tolerance for extremism of any kind. We must not tolerate hateful rhetoric that incites violence against minorities. Religious freedom is the cornerstone of our beliefs as Muslims and as Americans. Today, we must stand united. For many years, members of the LGBTQIA community have stood shoulder to shoulder with the Muslim community against any acts of hate crimes, Islamophobia, marginalization, and discrimination. Today, we stand with them, shoulder to shoulder. The liberation of the American Muslim community is profoundly linked to the liberation of other minority groups, blacks, Latinos, gay, Jewish, trans, and every other community that has faced discrimination and oppression in this country. We cannot fight injustice against some group and not against others. Homophobia, transphobia, and Islamophobia are interconnected systems of oppression, and we cannot dismantle one without dismantling the others. Homophobia and other forms of phobia take lives in this country every day, and we must stand up for the victims and for their families. The criminals, the terrorists, and extremists behind this kind of attacks mean only to divide us and turn us against one another. We cannot afford to let them succeed. As Muslims, as Americans, now is the time to speak out and make it clear that we will not give in to hate and we will not give in to fear. We heard in the news that the alleged perpetrator called in and he pledged allegiance to Daesh, or as we call it, ISIS. I have a word for ISIS and their supporters. How would you stand before God and answer to your crimes against innocent people, thousands of innocent people, Muslims, Christians, and other minorities? You do not speak for us. You do not represent us. You are an aberration. You are an outlaw, or as we call it in Islam, they are Khawarij. They are outlaws. They don't speak for our faith. They never belonged to this beautiful faith. They claim to, but the 1.7 billion people are united in rejecting their extremism, their interpretation, and their acts and senseless violence. And to those politicians who may try to exploit this tragedy, we ask them to respect the victims and their families. This is not the time to score points. This is not the time to exploit fear. This is the time for unity and faith. Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Rizwan Jaka. He's in two roles today. He's on the board of the Islamic Society of North America, and he's the chairman of the board of the Al Dulles Area Muslim Society, one of the larger mosques in the Washington, D.C. area.
Peace be with you. Thank you, Brother Ibrahim. Rizwan Jaka, R-I-Z-W-A-N. Last name Jaka, J-A-K-A. First, I will read a statement from the Islamic Society of North America, ISNA, the largest and oldest community-based Muslim organization in North America. ISNA offers its condolences to the families of the Orlando shooting victims. We stand with the victims of this senseless act of violence and mourn with the families of the victims and pray for their ease and comfort during this time of difficulty. We are outraged by this horrific shooting. Our president of the Islamic Society of North America, Azhar Aziz, A-Z-H-A-R, A-Z-E-E-Z, said today, ISNA sends its condolences and prayers to the families of the victims. We urge the communities to stand united against all acts of violence. We encourage our members to donate with the immediate short-term needs of the grieving families, and our members in Florida to visit to donate blood today to help the victims of this horrific shooting. That concludes the Islamic Society of North America's statement. Now I will read on behalf of the Al Dulles Area Muslim Society, the second largest mosque in the nation, with 11 branches and satellites in Virginia and D.C., representing 25,000
Very
Muslims.
strong statements coming in from leaders of the American Muslim community condemning what they call this horrific crime in Orlando. Our hearts, our thoughts, our prayers are with the families, the victims, family victims of this horrendous crime, a hate crime, according to Nihad Awad, who's the National Executive Director of CAIR, the Council for American-Islamic Relations. Awful, awful situation unfolding. We also heard very strong words of support for the families from these Islamic leaders here in the United States, condemning ISIS, bitterly condemning ISIS.